minute, my world is spinning. There is something I need to know. Oh, but I know love when I see it. But you don't have to go home, you can stay tonight. We can keep on vibing till the morning light.
Hello everyone, my name is Coco45 and welcome to the first video in my Making of a Castle series. In this series, I'll be showing the third-person footage of my building, and I'll be talking about the process, giving tips, and giving you some inspiration for your builds. Now at this point, I am just doing some basic planning for my build, which in this case will be a castle. What I'm doing here is just deciding on the shape of the outer walls, and you can make your walls, however, I'm doing a more circular route. Now, you then want to replicate the shape directly above. Be sure it's directly, that way you don't have the walls slightly off. And anyway, this marks the approximate height of the build. And something I'd like to remind you about the planning process is that it's a very rough part of the process. Your planning doesn't have to be very approximate. Obviously, it shouldn't be wildly off what you want to do, but it doesn't have to be down to the very block in every single detail. The whole purpose of planning is just getting a basic idea of what you'll be building, and if you're in survival, you'll be able to estimate the resources you need. It's not a very integral part of the whole process. Back to the video, I'm now at this point, I'm kind of figuring out a quick block palette for the walls, and once again, this is allowed to change. And I actually do end up changing this. I'm recording from the future, and some of this did change. I didn't include as many light blocks in the main block palette, and once again, that's okay. The block palette doesn't need to be decided at this point because all you're doing is some basic planning, and you're kind of setting in a foundation for your build. And that brings me to the next thing. Something very important that you want to do before you begin building is to build out, or at the very least mark out, the land that the build will be sitting on. You don't need to do all of the terraforming and detailing, but the lowest point the wall of your build sits on is where the top of the land should come to. And you need to mark that out. That way you are creating your build on the correct level and you're not wasting time or resources. Now, right now, I'm not going to be texturing this area either. I'm not adding podzol, there's no coarse dirt, just plain grass for now. And the reason for this is that I want my castle, to be the main subject of the overall area. This means I build the castle and then I do terraforming, and the terraforming is just a detail, instead of being the main attraction. Now, if you want the terraforming to be the main subject, then you would start on terraforming earlier. But for me, my castle will be the centerpiece, so I'll be doing that first. Another thing I want to discuss is deciding on your land shape. This is something I kind of just did. I did it based on if the castle were to be kind of stretched out. It sort of takes the general shape of the castle, round, kind of juts out where the turrets are. And you can do that. You can do something that more mimics what you're building the main subject to be. But if you wanted something different, you could go with anything. You can go with something higher, a bit more dramatic, like cliffs or a mountain, and this will make your castle very interesting. It'll add more of a story to it, especially if you embed the castle into the mountain. Another thing you can do is nothing real crazy at all. You can have the castle just sit on plains, or the very opposite of mountains, you can have your castle in a valley. All these are different options for what you can do. It depends on the size of your castle, the shape of your castle, and even the style you'll be building your castle in. Now, my castle is going to be a bit more on the modern side. I'm not thinking a futuristic style, but I do want to do something that isn't too rustic. And this is something that is good to decide on when you're kind of figuring out a block palette. Knowing this style will help you determine the colors and textures you want. The more futuristic you are, the more colors you're going to have. The more rustic you are, the more shades you're going to have. What I mean by that is, in a futuristic build, you're going to have a lot of different contrasting colors. You'll have white, you'll have blue, you'll have black, you'll have gray, green, yellow, whatever you want. a rustic build, it'll have fewer types of colors but more shades. So you'll have a lot of shades of gray, black, brown, that style. Now with me, I'm kind of going with a little mix of both. It'll generally be very, very rustic. It's going to have a lot of very similar shades of gray for the walls, and then I'll do lighter detailing, but I will add a very contrasting color for the roof as of my current plans, and this will bring it into a bit more of a modern looking stage. Deciding generally what you're going to do ahead of time is really important. Once again, it's not something you have to stick super strictly to. Anyway, my name is Coco45. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and make sure you come back if you enjoyed it, because we'll be getting started on the walls next episode. Bye!